Come to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business. We need a motion to open the meeting for.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the budget.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to open the meeting for the public hearing for the budget. Jim, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can give a quick run through, kind of the same deal that we've gone through at the budget workshops so far and at board meetings. It's I guess a challenging budget in that, there's so much that's beyond our control that's going up by a significant amount. By far and large, I think the town did a great job of, trying to maintain costs. Salaries were kept, at a reasonable rate, cost of living adjustments. But, some of the larger issues that we're faced with overall is just lower revenues outside of property taxes. So interest rates are going down, meaning we're going to be receiving much less in terms of interest income. Mortgage tax, that's been a nice revenue stream for the town. That's been trending down as a result of fewer homes being sold, fewer homes being built, refinancing, things of that nature. And lastly, cable franchise fees. The way it works currently, Spectrum, under the terms of an agreement, pays the town a fee, essentially a franchise fee, for each subscriber that has in the town. As people cut the cord and move away from cable, which has been happening for several years now, that those fees go down. That's been going down for several years now. General liability insurance, that's going up 10%. New York State retirement, 24% increase. It's a $14,000 increase to the town. Again, we have no control over. National grid bills across the board are going up at least 15%. And then, some things that we did decide to do, like enhanced patrol, it's a $14,000 increase from last year. So real challenging to try to, keep the numbers as low as possible while dealing with those, higher costs and lower revenues. So generally, we're looking at, as of right now, about a 7.4% increase to property taxes. It's going to be, as of right now, about a $2.80 per $1,000 rate versus $2.62 per thousand for 2025. And that excludes all the special districts. So that's just the taxes applicable to the general and the highway fund. And that's really the budget in a nutshell. The manliest fire, I think outside of, in terms of special districts, that was by far and away the largest increase, from $820,000 for 2025 to $926,635 for 2026. Again, that's something that we discussed the other night. Very little control, very little input was given. So it's a 13% increase on it. It's nothing. It's a lot of money. So
Right. Thanks, Jim.
sure.
Okay. Any public comments?
Jim?
Good evening. Excuse me. Jim Belcher, 7262 Pratt's Falls Road. I appreciate Jim's comment that it appears to be a very challenging budget year, when the cost of literally everything is going up. Even the things that you have control over are going up. And at least I recognize that there's a lot in the budget that you don't control. And I know I probably have a reputation of standing up here and criticizing, and that's not what I'm here to do. But I am looking to clarify a couple of things that, as I read the budget, I think the public could be served with a little more detail. For example, the word contractual or a line item that says contractual is in the budget dozens of times without any detail as to what is being contracted. Some of them are obvious, attorneys, the dog control, those things are obvious.
I can clarify that too. New York State stipulates how, the accounts are structured. There's three real components to it. There's personnel services, so your salaries and wages. Equipment would be, desks, computers, things of that nature. And then contractual is literally everything else. To go beyond that in much detail is really challenging. But we can try to do a better job of that going forward. But we are somewhat limited in what we can do there.
I'm thinking even if it's a kind of not a supplemental budget, but a supplemental detail, when you look at, for example, the line item for buildings, contractual, $38,000. And just somebody looking at the budget, we have no idea what that is. And in the general fund, that's, well over $100,000 falls under those contractual items. And in the highway fund, it's over $500,000 that are just under contractual. So when we look at transportation under the highway fund, contractual, it's $285,000. You may all know what that is. I'm sure Jim knows what it is. Nobody out here or up there knows what it is. And that's, the top four in the highway fund, that's 30% of the highway budget just falls under contractual. That nobody knows. Again, not everybody. Some people know what it is. Rest of us don't. So I did have a question about the increase, the $14,000 increase in the police line. And I know there's been talk about enhanced enforcement. And if that's all going to the sheriff's department to try to deal with the speed limit questions, great. The flip side of that is the revenue line for fines is going down. So I would think if we're going to be spending more money enforcing the speed limit, it's going to result in more fines, not fewer, unless everybody who speeds is going to get a warning. So just a suggestion to perhaps take a look at that. It would seem to make sense. If more tickets are issued, then more fine will be coming in. One of the items that's in the general fund as contractual is an item under the zoning group for $6,800. I'm curious as to what that is. That's 8010.43.
That's Sarah's income, isn't it? Isn't that the zoning clerk's
Secretary.
secretary?
How much was, I'm sorry, what was the?
$6,800.
The line item was 8010.43, I think is what it said.
0.4.
43.
Office supplies, travel and conferences, software. I think the code software is E-code is listed separately at $1,350. Mileage reimbursements and ZBA board, which I think is listed separately. Yeah. So it's a combination of those 3 or 4 things.
Okay, thanks. And then Jim, in your overview, you kind of answered my question about why the anticipated interest income is going down so substantially.
Yeah, it's interest rates and it's also the balances that we keep in NICLAS, like that's going down as well, especially now that ARPA, that money is fully expended. It's really just the best guess as to do, because rates are going to continue to go down. So try to be a little bit more conservative there. Developing the budget.
So the other thing that I think is important to notice, and again, budgets are difficult to read, right? It's just numbers and columns and lines. There is, $30,000 coming out of the fund balance to the general fund, and fund balance is savings account, right? It's money that's set aside. 210,000 is coming out of the highway fund or into the highway fund. So that's $240,000 that's coming out of savings if you will. And that's over 11% of the highway budget is coming out of savings.
Yeah, the thought there, the 30,000 for the town, for the general fund is to pay for, the painting. The highway, there's an accumulation of funds over many years that really is used towards buying equipment. That's the goal. So there's, I think it's equal to the capital outlay for the plow equipment and the gravel that he plans on buying. So that was the goal there. I don't know what his plan is for 2027. But the plan really is to, try to accumulate a little bit of money over many years.
Sure.
So that we can, afford to pay for these things.
Yeah, and I don't know if there is a capital expenditure plan, a 5-year plan. And I think BR does a great job, but it seems like whenever there's money, it goes to the highway department, right? And then, and that's where the biggest expenditures are.
Right.
So, and we've talked over and over again about trucks costing $200,000 and pieces of equipment costing $400,000. There should be a capital plan, a 5-year capital plan saying,
I think we actually talked to Beer about that with all the new equipment that he purchased, is to put his vehicles on a rotation plan. Was gonna be part of that now that he's got much more better equipment than he's had in the last few years. So that was part of our discussion with him before.
Yeah, I'd take it a step farther. The last few years, probably the last 20 years, we upgraded with a lot of the ARPA funds in order to try to avoid tax increases. The capital plan, I agree with you. We talked about it at length as a board in executive session and with BR. That's only going to raise taxes more, as you probably know. You want to create a fund to be able to offset future expenditures. We're concerned about the tax increase that we're looking at today.
Sure.
That would just drastically increase it. We're talking about cents, that'd be dollars. So the other question that you raised was the 14K in the police line. It is for police enforcement. You've been here every month religiously. You've heard all the concerns that people have. The best thing we can do until we get the speed limit adjusted, which Tom's been working on diligently, is to try to put more police enforcement in. They have a 4-hour minimum. They have an hourly rate. That's how it works out.
fair enough.
And as far as the revenues go, we've audited the court fees, that we don't get a lot of revenue from the speeding tickets. The majority of it goes to the state.
I'll add too, the town's fortunate, that we do have the rainy day fund that we have, and we're not, required to borrow for the equipment that we have to purchase. Most municipalities do. They're taking out, capital leases, or they're bonding for these things, which, over the long term does add quite a bit of cost, because of interest. So, at least at this point, in the foreseeable future, I don't think that's necessary.
And I fully recognize that by moving the money from the rainy day fund, if you will, into the highway fund, that just prevents a tax increase.
Right.
Right. So, and I guess my only other question, and this would be to Jim, is once those transfers are made, what are the fund balances left in each one of those funds?
Too early to tell, but highway has a very healthy fund balance right now. It's, I believe, I said it last 2 nights ago. I think it's either 1.2 or 1.4 million. There'll be probably around $1 million, by the end of the year. So it's healthy. Yeah, they're in good shape.
That's it. Again, thank you for your efforts in doing this. I know it's not easy.
Anybody on Zoom? Okay, we need a motion for approval to consider the adoption of the 2026 budget as follows.
We have to close the hearing first.
I'm sorry.
We have to close the hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Those say no. Carried. Need a motion to approve, consider the adoption of the 2026 budget as follows. The proposed salaries of the following town officers are hereby specified as follows. Supervisor, $16,000. Highway superintendent, $80,730. Town clerk, $42,500. Town justices, $13,000 each. And town board members, all four for $4,705 each.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the budget, 2026 budget as just reviewed and as Jim's presented.
I should mention there are some changes from the preliminary to the version that's going to be adopted due to the highway that we discussed the other night.
So I didn't think we were gonna approve budget till next week. Or do we? need to-
Yeah, I would think that, approving the salaries is one thing, like that's one thing that has to happen. Those can't change after tonight.
Right.
But the final version of the budget would be adopted.
Okay, so this is just for,
The salaries.
all right, so I make a motion that we approve the salaries as just reviewed for the 5 positions in the dollar amounts laid out.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the salaries just brought up at the board. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All say no. Carried.
I'll make a
Anything else?
motion, yeah, no, anything else? Okay. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Alright.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, sir. Jim, thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Dave.